Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome back to another episode of The Ways We Move with your host, Nicolas Zart. And I am here with a very special guest and also a special friend of mine whom I've known for, my goodness, God, we've known each other for many, many moons. And we're going to take a little break from advanced air mobility right now. We're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about EVs, electric vehicles, and everything. And I couldn't think of any better person to talk to than Kyle here, who was my wingman for many, many, many years, especially at Clean Technica, throughout CES. And Lord knows we've seen a lot of interesting things. So without further ado, I'll let Kyle introduce himself, give us a little bit about his background. And well, hey, Kyle, I'm just going to be quiet. And why don't you start talking?
Sure, yeah, it's great to be on with you, Nicholas. I think we started working together about a decade ago at Clean Technica,
I had
and
hair back then.
I've both been passionate about. Yeah, we were both a lot younger and had more color in our hair for sure. I just covered up with a
Very
hat
smart.
now,
Very brave.
but yeah, I think sustainability for me, what's exciting about it is that it has reached that tipping point. It reached it many years ago for different technologies, but where they're financially sustainable and it's financially attractive now, and that makes the sustainability piece of it almost a no-brainer. And so I've been interested in sustainability and EVs for I don't know 20 years and working towards it myself. Um, Working in manufacturing, and then went full time in journalism maybe 8 years ago,
Wow.
maybe 10 years ago, or no, 5 years ago. I was doing it part time for a bit, and yeah, I think it's getting more and more exciting the more we go. Obviously, it's moving into the mainstream now, but EVs, the batteries that power them, the energy that powers them with solar, yeah, it just keeps getting more and more attractive the further we go.
Actually, that's something that that's what got me started. Actually, to really put it into perspective, Chelsea Sexton is the one who got me onto all of this, and I was back in 2006. I was sort of looking into it. I was really intrigued with Eberhard and Wright, the original Tesla founders, who were saying, "Wouldn't it be great if we had an electric car to zip around in Silicon Valley?" And then I met Chelsea, and I still I was on the fence like most people. Oh, I'm going to miss the vibrations, blah blah blah. What was I thinking, right? And then here I am in front of Chelsea Sexton. If you don't know who Chelsea Sexton is, think about very vivacious, extremely sharp, and amazing young woman with extremely bubbly eyes. And all of a sudden, you know what she told me that won me over? She goes, "Look, nobody could keep up with me at a red light," meaning no BMW could keep up with me at a red light with a GM1. I was like, huh? And then she said something that, of course, any performance guys would just melt. I changed my tires every 3,000 miles. I was like, oh, hold on a second. You got me on that one. So that got me to start test driving an AC propulsion. And I was like, wow, this is really great. And then, of course, I test drove one of the very first Tesla Roadsters. And I thought, wow, it's like white wine, red wine. It's still wine, French cheese, Dutch cheese. My goodness, it's cheese for crying out loud. And so that got me started and so on and so forth. So a
Right.
few years later, I meet you. We're going to all of these events. We're seeing a lot of things happen, from the very first Mitsubishi i-MiEV that had, I think, a 40 kilowatt hour, maybe 60 kilowatt hour battery pack. And oh my gosh, I could go drive a whole day without charging, to the Soul EV where I could go 2 days without charging. And that was a big, big deal, right? To what we now have, over 500 miles on a single charge, which is more than my gasoline car can handle anyway. So it's fantastic. So give us a little bit about your perspective on how far we've come in the EV industry, the amazing array of choice. I was looking at the Kia cars lately. I mean, there's a Kia for everything you need, an EV, whether it's an EV, a plug-in hybrid, or a hybrid. Give us your point of view on what's happening right now in the electric vehicle industry.
Yeah, I think like I touched on earlier, I mean, EVs are really moving into the mainstream, and with that, I think we're getting a different set of customer expectations. And so I think we're kind of in the middle of this massive transition into just mass adoption of EVs. And I think we're seeing that in a couple different ways. Like EVs don't stand out anymore. You don't look at a Kia EV9, for instance, and say, wow, that's a weird looking EV. It's not kind of the science project in the corner anymore. And that's
True.
across brands. There is still room for a lot of innovation in terms of the packaging, and that's still manifesting. Like we saw with Canoe, they were very bold with their designs and packaging. Didn't make it, unfortunately, but I think that same spirit and opportunity is still there with EVs. But the one big challenge I think we haven't fully addressed, even though we have this massive amount of range and battery, is the charging. And I think we're still trying to process that and work through that as an
That's
industry.
interesting that you should say that because 10 years ago, when I switched over to, we didn't call it advanced air mobility at the time. We called it electric air mobility, which, by the way, is the name of my company. Da da da. Shameless plug. But it's the one thing that I wanted to make sure we didn't make that same mistake, which was to have the infrastructure problems. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but back in 2008, 2009, we were having wonderful philosophical conversations about, does the vehicle come first or the infrastructure? Well, lo and behold, yes, it was the infrastructure, for
Right.
crying out loud. But then also what we saw, I think that, and you may agree or disagree with that, but I think we also saw maybe like 2 years of indecisions when CHAdeMO was the de facto standard for supercharging or fast charging, which worked really well and had a nice upgradable roadmap and everything. All of a sudden, Bosch comes in and says, "No, CCS, yes, is the way to go." And I think that created, of course, on top of range anxiety, which was awful. And all of these things just muddled the landscape, and a lot of people were not sure whether they should get an EV that charge on CHAdeMO or CCS, and then of course range anxiety. That's one of the things I wanted to make sure we don't have that problem over here. So fast forward 10 years after, we don't have a charging protocol. We're looking at MCP as being the next thing because we need 250 volts. We need at least 1,000 amps. I mean, these guys are going to be sucking up 4 to 5,000 amps for just one aircraft, right? But anyway, let's get back to the EV industry. Yeah, I think you're right. It's still an issue. I don't know if it's overblown. I mean, you do drive a Tesla, so you probably know way better than we do. But it's true that I remember 15 years ago, it was fun to charge a car. You talked to your fellow charger over there. You talked about, well, how do you like your car? What's going on? But these days, I kind of hear that you go to a charging station and it's not working. Is that true, or is that just sensationalism headlines again?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've hit on a bunch of key topics there. I mean, I'm on my fourth Tesla, and not because they keep dying, but because the charging network. I mean, I love doing road trips. I'm actually heading out tomorrow morning, first thing, driving east, and I'm on the Tesla program still. I'm drinking the juice still because of the charging network. In a Tesla, I can literally plug in, "Hey, drive me to Arkansas," and it maps out where my charging stations are, how long I'm going to be there, and for the most part, it drives me there now. And so that ecosystem has its benefits. Looking outside that, it's still a bit of a hodgepodge. I mean, you mentioned that this charging standard you guys are working on in the air space, and standardization is huge. I mean, it's the old beta versus VHS fight. It's we're going through that again with CCS to CHAdeMO, or CHAdeMO to CCS, and now with NACS being the standard. And I think having a standard now helps. We're all kind of
Yes.
shooting in the same direction, but the experience in a Ford Lightning or even a Rivian is still very different than what you get in the kind of the seamless Tesla world with their charging network. So I think still a lot of room to grow into that. NACS is a huge improvement, so the North
Thank
American
you.
charging standard. But in terms of having a unified approach and a consistent experience for all different EV drivers, and we still have a bit of work to do to really optimize that. Because what Tesla has done, you pull up, you plug in, and you just walk away. You don't have to worry about the credit card or the app or cell service or any of that. You just plug and charge, as some people have coined it with their products. So I still see a big opportunity there to standardize and to really homologize both the charging experience, but the vehicle experience as well, with more integrated NACS adapters, NACS ports in the cars.
Another, you just reminded me of another company that I've seen that's starting to make headwaves is Iona, the charging company around Kia and everything. I don't know all that much about it. I was looking at it. It looks impressive. What's your take on that? Can they solve any of these bottleneck issues?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the typical setup we saw in Europe. They did really well out there with kind of the manufacturer supported charging network. And at first, I think all EV or vehicle manufacturers were reluctant to invest in a charging network outside of Tesla. And I think once you actually start using the network and driving the cars beyond the city, if you will, you realize how important charging is and how
Oh, yeah.
crucial it is. I think Iona is an attempt to do that. It's 5 years late. I mean, it would have been ideal if it was bundled with the Electrify
Yes.
America effort, which has also been a bit of Fits and starts a bit of a challenge. I mean, they haven't really delivered on reliability or the promises that we really needed them to deliver on. But Iona could be that missing piece. I think Ford just got on board with them as well. So um, that the need for that unified charging experience, it doesn't have to be one network, whether it's Tesla, Iona, Electrify America, or somebody else. But the experience that Tesla has delivered really set the bar for customers and what their expectations are. So I still hope for that. I think it's possible, but it's going
You
to
know,
take some
I
work.
think also there's a little bit of confusion. I think right now, at least around here, what I hear is, in one sense, it sounds like everybody's going towards the Tesla protocol of charging, like all the cars will be dual charging and everything. So, are we going towards a Tesla charging protocol, at least here in North America? And where does this leave other places like Electrify America, like Iona? What's the scoop on that?
Yeah, so Tesla, I mean, they've offered a lot of their work as kind of open source, or it's still patented and protected, but they've kind of said you guys can use it. And so with the North American Charging Standard, they did ratify that as a standard, so it's out of Tesla's hands now,
Okay, gotcha.
and others can use that now standardized CCS based charging protocol in their charging units. So I think there's a huge wave of retrofits needed at the charging stations for them to stay relevant and to really tap into that new Tesla market, which continues to be the majority of EV drivers. And then for Tesla, they're also going to have to retrofit because not all of their old stations are actually NACS compatible. So yeah, we're
Oh,
just in this
wow.
bumpy middle ground now, and I think it can still go both ways. We could see charging network operators fail and disappear as they try to navigate that transition. We'll see some acquisitions, I'm sure. That's inevitable in any kind of scaling market. But really, Tesla continues to dominate, and I think they're really giving the U.S. that foundation of solid charging infrastructure that we hoped Electrify America was actually going to do. So
It's
yeah,
It's
heading in a good
yeah, okay,
direction.
so thank you for enlightening us with that because it sounds like all new EVs as of this year or next year will be able to charge at Tesla superchargers and of course any kind of CCS superchargers. So that's actually a good thing and it should relieve a lot of anxieties out there. Another thing you said too, which is of course we have to talk about politics these days. It's so sad, but we do without talking about politics because today, by the way, is Tuesday, March 20th, 2025. So we're, about almost 2 months into a new administration that has had, well, a very colorful start to say the least. On our side of the industry, on the advanced air mobility side of the industry, thank goodness they do like us. But when it comes to EVs, the messages have been very odd. It's yes, no, we love you, we hate you. And by the way, here is Elon Musk everywhere. So it's like, what is going on? How are you guys seeing all of this? Are you fretting? Because you did say one thing that I love to hear is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. People are still going out there to look for a car that makes sense financially, that makes sense in operations, that's cheaper to more affordable to operate and own everything. Heck, we're looking at a secondhand Model 3 because right now I can get one for $20,000 and charge from home.
Percent. Yeah, there's a lot of mixed messages coming out of the administration. I mean, just top down, Trump has said on one hand, electric cars are horrible and they'll never work, and then on the other hand, he's best friends with Elon and buying a Tesla because it's the best car ever. So mixed messaging for sure, and that's not just in words. I think there's just a lot of chaos that the administration is creating in terms of the adoption. I mean, I think it's a really interesting transition for electric cars as well culturally. I mean, they were the darling of the Democrats for so long, and now we're seeing a rebellion really on the basis of
Yes.
Elon Musk supporting Trump in such a strange way, an unprecedented way, I guess. And at the same time, we're seeing Republicans getting
Yes.
on board with MAGA
Yeah.
EVs. So I think, and it's primarily directed at Tesla, the hate and the love, but it really opens the door for kind of that blue meets red EV perfection in a lot of ways. I think if we're really refocus on why we're doing it, the climate, local energy, not relying on globally sourced oil, I think there's a huge opportunity to really bring EVs into the mainstream for both parties if we actually sit back and let that happen or make that happen. So I try to look for the silver linings. It's bumpy as all get out. It's unpredictable as anything. I mean, it's like going to Vegas. Who knows what's going to happen? But Yeah, there's a lot of
That's a
opportunity.
city you and I know really well with CES. We've done a few of those, and that was interesting. But you said something that's really interesting. I think ultimately we all look for performance, right? Whether it's financial performance, it's a car performance. I also like the performance that I can open up my garage door, plug my car in, and go, "Woo, done deal." I don't have to look at a dirty gasoline pump or anything like that. And well, people get stabbed now these days at gasoline stations. It's really it's not really that much fun, right? So, but we do have to look at the silver thread, the silver lining. And you're right. I think right now, I think I actually post my last post on Facebook. That's it. I give up. No more Facebook. I mean, it is just too incredible. I said it's a shame that we've been looking for to buying it a Model 3 secondhand, but with all the vandalizations and everything like that, we're sort of going, is this worth it? Is this not worth it? I mean, the comments I had were absolutely, it made me like give up. I'm like, okay, no more Facebook. That's it. But it's too bad that there is this, and you're right. I mean, Elon Musk, we thought he was a liberal. Now he turns out he's a hardcore conservative, maybe even a neo-reactionary. I guess we could even call him. And we get these really strange images, but it's like, dude, there are Americans building those cars, and the bottom line, if you really think about it, they're extremely good quality cars. They're very well built, as tough as a Land Rover and a Mercedes in terms of accidents and everything. Man, talk about performance. They're really good. Short of getting a Lucid Air, that's really the next best thing you can get. And something you've said more than once already on this call is the ecosystem, the UX inside of a Tesla, I think is unparalleled to this day. And I remember, I think it was back in maybe 2017, 2018. You and I were leaving. Oh, it was the LA Auto Show in your new Model 3. Maybe it was later. I can't remember exactly when. But I was just. It was my first time being in a Model 3, so I knew the Model S really well. But I was like, man, it's like a smaller version of a Model S, but the experience is stellar. And there's, my wife's first reaction when we thought about a Model 3, she was like, oh, I don't want to get distracted by that big screen. I was like, no, you're not going to get distracted. My God, please look at the road, would you? I mean, yeah, it have self-driving, but I want you to look at the road. Pay attention to that. That's just secondary stuff. Yeah, the experience is absolutely fantastic. It's like an Apple experience. Well, before now. Sorry, I
No, 100%. I mean,
had to say it.
it's worth the jab. The user experience and the user interface in the Tesla, I mean, it is hands down the
Yeah.
best I've seen. Rivian
Yep.
comes close. Lucid is
Yep.
pushing in that direction, but I think what the difference for me in a Tesla is you get in and it feels familiar. It feels like what you'd expect, which means it's intuitive, and it really takes the experience that we as a society have come to have ingrained in our brains from our phones and tablets. It's taken that and moved that into the car. So the car is now an intuitive extension of our smart life and our digital life. And no other manufacturer has really nailed that down. I mean, it all feels like there's a big learning curve, like you have to spend a good amount of time getting used to it instead of just finding your way through it as you can in the Tesla system. So, again, I'm not like a Tesla fanboy. I really do love the technology, the products, the integration, and the way they've really looked towards the future. They're 5 steps ahead of everybody in almost every area, except for maybe BYD in China. And China's a whole
China's a
different
different thing.
ball of
Yes,
wax,
yeah,
as you
yeah.
know. So
I was there. Last time I was there was in 2020, and I went to see Neo's, the battery swapping situation. Which I don't know if you remember, Better Place was working on that in 2007. But when I went there and I saw, wow, Neo made sense of it, and it made sense of it back then. It took 4 minutes to park your car in, drop that battery pack, have a new one, done deal, and you were gone. But the smart thing that Neo did was to also connect with Xpeng and have like when you pay for that battery swapping situation, you also have access to Xpeng's charging network. And it's this seamless integration of two companies working together for their own benefit. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense. So you're right. I think China is very different. BYD has some very interesting. I don't know if you remember, what was that? I think it was in 2011. I think I drove my very first BYD, and it was interesting. Like when the fans came on, the whole car shook. But today's BYDs, have a look at it. They're fantastic. The quality is amazing. So yeah, I think it's all, it's moving in that direction. Whether you want to whine or complain or love it, it doesn't really matter. You made another very good point, and that's something that's very near and dear to me. Is I think in the beginning, when I was writing, when we were writing, we were seen as Tesla fanboys, and we were like, "No, we're not. It's just it's a good product, guys. It's a good ecosystem, right? Oh, you must be Tesla fans. You must be Musk fans." Well, no, I was in front of him. I wasn't in. Well, I'm not going to say anything. It was just whatever. I don't care. But the product is good. So not the messengers. Forget about the messengers. Just look at the product. And I think the first time I actually ever highlighted some slight ever so slightly negative comments about Tesla, I basically oh my god, oh what the hell happened? All I did was like, yeah, there are some challenges, right? Very pragmatically. All of a sudden, I became a Tesla hater, and I was like, oh yeah, no, it's neither that or that. Center of the road, guys, center of the road, and do not blame the messenger all the time. So it's been really difficult writing that fine line, right? I don't know how you feel about that.
No, 100%. I mean, I don't try to. I really just try to speak from the heart and speak from the data and the experience. And so I definitely agree with what you're saying. I mean, you're walking a razor's edge. Try not to. I mean, I don't try to not irritate the fanboys or the people that are huge fans of everybody other than Tesla. For me, I'm just giving my perspective. If you like it, that's great. If not, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely playing with fire on both sides of that coin, no matter how you
Yeah,
talk about Tesla.
it's a little bit too polarized these days. So I've got my new toy. It's not my new toy. I've had crystal balls for a long time, but I've got a crystal ball. So we're gonna peer into it because one of the decisions that we need to make also in our household is whether or not we should get a Tesla Model 3, a used one, by the way. So before you get up on your high horses about giving money to Musk, it won't, because it's been apparently that's a very hot topic these days. Or should we get a Kia Nero? I would love to get an EV4. I think the EV4 is beautiful, like aesthetically. I think it's wonderful and everything. But that's one of my things I want to ask my ball. And I don't know if you see whether or not we should or not buy a Model 3, or should we go for a Kia? What would be your take on that? I don't know if you need a different angle.
No, I think I've got some insights into what's happening in that ball there. I think right now it's actually one of the best times to buy a used Tesla. I think the hate around Musk has pushed more than typical volumes of Teslas into the used market.
That's
Like you
true.
said, you're not giving money to Tesla if that's something you're looking to avoid. And just the pricing has come down
Yes.
significantly. I mean, you hear the scare tactics and all the headlines that pop into the mainstream news, but I mean, really, if you actually get out there, you can find a used Tesla for even as low as $10,000. I mean,
Wow.
the numbers out there are absurd. The values out there are absurd. So I'd be hard pressed to find another automaker, and it's purely on value. I'm not saying for brand or performance or UI or any of that preference. Just based on value, like what you get for your money for the range and the charging and all of that. I think
Yeah,
used Teslas are really a
yeah,
special
and I
place right
think you're
now.
right. I mean, it does it's a headspace makes sense, right? Absolutely. And also you're right. The value, my goodness, you can get a Tesla anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, and if you want a long range one, they're still hovering around $20,000, which means you're getting close to 370 miles on a range with if you spend $20,000 on a car. And so far, knock on wood, we can still get some sort of credit as long as, by the way, and this is something that readers and watchers need to be very careful with. If you're going to buy a used Tesla through your dealership, even through Tesla, you have to make sure that that dealership or that Tesla dealership knows which paperwork they need to fill out. There are plenty of stories out there right now. You can go and check it out. They fill out the wrong ones. You don't get your tax credit. You get very mad. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I think the federal paperwork and the hassle around that has always been chaos. What's good about the new or the current rebates that are out there for EVs on the new side is that with a new vehicle, it happens at the point of sale. So that money should be taken off on the front end. It shouldn't even be in your loan. It's not like a rebate or a
Good.
tax credit. On the used side, like you said, I mean, just like any typical used car dealership, I mean, they run the gamut
That's true.
from reputable to all the way down the other side. So I would definitely follow up on the paperwork and make sure you're getting that done. Put some extra diligence in to make sure you're getting that money. Because I think it's a four
Up
thousand dollar
to
credit on used vehicles
Yeah,
under
up
25,000.
to.
So
So
yeah,
that's
up to.
really good. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Model 3 checks all the check boxes, so that should be good. So okay, that's wonderful. We've spoken for roughly almost a half hour now, and that's great talking about the technology and everything. Now let's get a little bit more personal. Tell us a little bit about you. What gets you out of bed in the morning, and then we'll talk about what you're doing with your car because you've got a really pretty interesting project. But why are you doing this, for crying out loud? Cal, you could be working in a great job right now. You could be making a lot of money, living comfortably well, retiring even if you wanted to. What gets you out of bed in the morning?
No, I mean, it's really what we talked before. I mean, I think the sustainability and having environmentally conscious solutions move to a financially sustainable place. It's just that's what really gets me excited because people don't know how sustainable they can make their lives. Like you can wake up in the morning, have your solar panel on your roof, charging your batteries, charging your car, heating the hot tub, cooling your house. It does all of it, and it can do it in a way that saves you money. And so it's not just solar, batteries, cars. It's water. It's sustainable living and recycling and reusing. All of that stuff. That's where I would say my heart, my passion is for these products, and I just continue to see more solutions that get me excited, and that's really what's moved me into this world of kind of off-roading and the project I'm working on with both my cars now. I've got all kinds of crazy projects, and yeah, it's super exciting
Now,
where
when
this
you
stuff's
say
going.
crazy projects, I have to admit this one is it's really high up there because I have never heard anybody say Tesla and off-roading in one sentence. Do tell us more.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got a Model Y that it was really I just got tired of waiting for the Cybertruck, and I was saying like, man, how could I make one of the current EVs that's out there capable of doing kind of more off-roady stuff? And it started from my love of road tripping, so I love traveling and just getting out. But then paying for a hotel for every night for 2 weeks, it gets a bit
It's true.
tiresome. Finding food and paying for meals, it makes it expensive when it feels like it should be a relaxed, kind of more
That's
organic
very true.
experience. And so making my Tesla slightly more off-road capable. I started with a Model Y Performance in 2022 and added off-road tires, gave it a lift, redid the suspension, and just kept building from there. And so it ended up being kind of a full camper setup for one person. So it's got a platform in the back with drawers that pull out with kitchen utensils
Wow.
and cooktops and all of that run off of secondary batteries to a full off-road build. So I built off-road front bumper, rear bumper, built a winch in, added rock sliders, and so I think it's the most aggressive and off-road capable Tesla Model Y out there. Yeah, I'm just having a ton of fun with it. I mean, it's been a great
So
test bed.
this is something you could feasibly go out to the redwoods, the sequoias, and go out camping with it, and go off road and go out camping with it.
100%. Yeah, we actually were in Sequoia National Park with the family. Had my wife and two boys out there, and we were just doing our normal rounds. We weren't camping out of it, but it was a cold, drippy day, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys want some ramen?" I was like, "I've got all the stuff for it in the back." I was like, "If we have enough water, I think we can just make some hot ramen to warm up," and it was perfect. It was a great snack, and that capability is just that's what
Yeah.
gets me excited today about EVs is enabling kind of different levels of adventure with what's going on. And I think I mean, Teslas of old, there was no off-roading in that sentence, but with the Cybertruck and with Rivian, I mean, we've really cracked open an entirely new set of possibilities for EVs and adventure mobility, and so that's what gets
I
me
was so
excited.
excited when I met RJ at Rivian, and I think it was in 2017. I went to see their lab down in what was it, Forest View, I think, or something like that. And it was amazing the work that they were doing. I was like, wow, that's going to be it. But to actually modify a Y to do that, and I also want people to really get that idea that I think when people think of an EV, there's that lack, that scarcity mode that comes in, range anxiety. Oh my God, give it up. That was almost 20 years ago, for crying out loud, right? But here's a good case example. You've got the range to go somewhere, and you've got the extra battery so that you can actually have a cup of tea when you want to, or some ramen. So that's a pretty cool little concept there. That should hopefully, I mean, do we have pictures, videos of any of that? Are you publishing that anywhere?
Yeah, I published a ton of photos of both the build on X and some videos as well. I think that's it. Kind of taps into another piece of kind of car culture that EVs haven't really. I don't know. They're kind of they seem uninspiring, but being able to modify them and not just bolt-on suspension components or bolt-on bumpers or wheels and tires. I mean, you can really cut into the body. Like I built a new front bumper that ties into the frame with a winch, new lights, an auxiliary 12-volt system. So the opportunity to buy maybe a used Model 3 and modify it to make it do what you want it to do or make it look how you want it to, and not just with bolt-ons or stick-on stuff from China. I mean, you could do whatever you want with these cars. They're just cars. They've got four wheels. They've got the accelerator pedal and the brake. So I'd say, yeah, it's an entirely new frontier for car modifiers and fabricators to get out there and really express themselves in a totally new
Yeah,
way.
so I'm going to go back a little bit on the technicalities of it. So basically, and that's I think that was one of the first questions I asked you is what about warranty? That's the first thing you're scared of, right? Did you do anything to void the warranty? The void the warranty? To void the warranty? I'm assuming not, right? You wouldn't want to do that. So tell us a little bit about what is there a fine line? Yeah, obviously. Is there a fine line?
Yeah, I mean, warranties are always contentious. I mean, I started with a brand new car straight off the truck, and so the way the warranties typically work is whatever you modify, that won't be under warranty. So for me, cutting into the bumper, I had to move my radiators up into the frunk to sit behind my new winch, and so all of the systems I've modified, obviously the warranty is compromised on those. But anything that's still core on the car, so the battery, the motor, all of the UI operations, everything inside the car, the body, and all of those things, those are still standard and those should be covered under warranty. But I think the real opportunity is not really to start with a brand new car and start chopping into it like some chop shop TV show. It's the used or the salvage market where we can really get into the exciting bits and people can kind of you're not under warranty anyway.
Yep, that's
You're
true.
probably past that period or it's been a salvage
That's
title.
true.
So I think it's those cars where it's a blank canvas for people to just start chopping and cutting and building, and I think we're just starting to see the first fruits of that new wave
So,
of
and you
excitement.
actually put a second set of batteries basically in it to take care of all those ancillary systems. Tell us more about that. How does that work? Where did you put it?
Yeah, so I started off with just power stations, right? There's new portable power stations that are lithium powered.
Bing.
You can put one of those in the trunk or
True.
behind the back seat, and that'll power your induction cooktop and everything. But when I put the winch in, it was really a whole new level of power that I needed. I mean, it wanted to pull 440 amps at
Oof.
peak. And to do that, you just can't get that at 12 volt from a normal power station. So I kind of had to go off on my own. I put two 100 amp hour lithium batteries, 12-volt lithium batteries in the rear trunk, which is actually under the typical level of the car. So there's a rear sub trunk. There's tons of storage. So I have two of those back there, and those are powered directly from the high voltage battery through Tesla's power conversion system. It's not really an off the shelf kind of
Right.
bolt on system, but it taps directly in under the back seat. It's fused, and that goes through a DC to DC charger that's really intended for solar. But it pulls from the car, charges my batteries, and then I run it through an inverter to power all my AC stuff as well as the winch. So I can put out like 262 amps from that system, which obviously isn't peak, but I've run the winch a dozen times in actual recovery scenarios in the cold and the heat all over the U.S. and it holds up. I mean, it's doing everything I need it to do, and that lets me run light, the induction cooktop, all my 12-volt stuff. I've got a Midlands GMRS radio in there, and yeah, it's just wailing away. I'm having a
So
blast with
when
that thing.
you recharge still the same way, but now you're recharging an extra amount of batteries, right? And so how long does it impede your I mean, obviously it's going to add a few minutes at the station at the charging station, but how does that work out? I mean, is it noticeable or
No, I mean the total capacity is only 2 kilowatt hours, so even with that conversion, it's not noticeable. It's not a noticeable draw on the car. I think if you were cooking out of it with the induction cooktop for hours a day, you might run into some limitations on
mm,
charging and recharging, and maybe even notice it
mm,
at the pump.
at the pump?
But just if you're using it here and there, or even on road trips where you're using it every day, it's not something that really becomes a
Oh,
factor.
that's that's it intrigues me a lot. That's really intriguing. I'm on the other side of the things. I'm not an off-roader. I would be more like what is the most efficiency I can get out of a Model 3? Like I'm talking about aerodynamics, like strip the leather. I hate leather. I don't want leather anywhere. Make it light, make it, as I want performance. I want the performance package. In fact, in 2017, Peter Rawlinson showed us the Lucid Air at the Peterson Museum, and we were so impressed. It was incredible. That thing was going up, the spiral rampway at the museum. It was pulling 25 miles per hour. My wife wasn't sick. I was just like a whole new level of wow. But I told Peter, I said, this is great, and I know the whole craze right now is leather and luxury and everything. I happen to not be one of those people. I want a car that feels like a car. Give me the sports package. Give me the
Yeah.
performance package. So I would want to go the other way. I would want to go more. I want that performance. I want low roll resistant race tires as much as possible, the lightest tires that I can think of, and just, make everything carbon, whatever. I don't even mind if I sit on mesh. I don't care. It just has to have potential. Keep it
Keep it
light. Yeah,
light.
keep it light. Fantastic. Well, that's really interesting. It's a whole new evolution of the EV industry I hadn't kept up with. So I'm very excited to hear you say that. We're coming up on the end of our recording. Is there anything you would like to tell our listeners or watchers, and anything that you think is very important to keep in mind, given the context these days around EVs, given what's available actually, and that what are your final words?
No, I think right now with electric vehicles, we're really still at the start of EVs becoming kind of a mainstream vehicle. And I think what I would tell kind of the broad audience is that maybe if you're on the fence about EVs, you're not sure about EVs, or if you've been a long time enthusiast and supporter of EVs, I mean, I would say get it back out there and check and see what's available, because there are so many new options that suit different use cases. I mean, the Ford Lightning I think is my favorite electric truck. I do have a Cybertruck, but the Lightning is just so practical and it's so affordable. It really is that
Wow.
everyday truck that suits so many people. The locking frunk is still one of my favorite things in that Lightning because it's so big. It closes. I can just imagine rolling up to a job site and popping that frunk and having everything you need there. So I would say get back out there, revisit EV, revisit them kind of with new lenses. I mean, you can modify these things, you can customize it. And yeah, it's a really, really exciting space still, even after so many years that we've been covering it.
Very interesting. Where can people catch up with you and find out what you're doing? Where are you being published these days?
Yeah, so I'm still on Clean Technica, just not as often. I would say the majority of my thoughts, useful or otherwise, are on X. So just throwing them on there. It seems to be the best way to get it out, the best audience. I mean, like you said, Facebook is kind of a cesspool. LinkedIn isn't productive in my experience. So X continues to be that, whether again you like Elon or not. That's just best
That's really
platform for
interesting
what
because
I'm
I
doing.
I ran into the other case scenario where X became very, very charged. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, get over it. But LinkedIn has always been, if not, you're right, it's very professional. It's not, it's not newsish or anything like that. But yeah, I need to get back into X again. And I have such a hard time calling it X. It sounds like a porn site to me. I still call it Twitter. I am so sorry. I'm going to show my age. I don't give a darn. But heck, after all, I mean, I still have, a crystal ball here. Crystal ball. You have to let me know which way should I do. I'll get back on Twitter. X, sorry, X. Good grief. Good grief. Yeah, fun times. Fun times we're having. Well, Kyle, I want to say, it's been amazing to know you all these years. You've always been rock solid in my life. You've always been there. You've helped me through a lot of really crazy times. Also at Clean Technica, when we were writing, there were sometimes some of the comments were just like, oh yeah, just insane. But that's part of life. That's the way it is, I mean, hey, I still shave every day, and that works for me. But thanks for being here today. And I seriously invite you anytime to come back, anytime you want. You want to give us an update on your off-roading capacities with your Teslas, and anything you have to do around EVs or otherwise. It's always good to have you here. And I guess the question I want to ask our watchers and listeners before we say goodbye is, what were your impressions of EVs before you started listening to this? Did you have any kind of preconceived notions? What's your views on EVs and maybe Elon Musk? And do you put them all together in one big bundle, or can you actually make sense of it the way we probably should all do it? Middle road, guys, middle road. Has anything changed? Is there anything that you would like us to visit a little bit more in depth? We're always ready to hear you out. So please share, like, comment, and let us know what you think. It's very important for us so that we can keep on giving you good, solid information. In the meantime, Kyle, thank you very much for all these years being there. And I look forward to the next few decades in front of us. And yeah, thanks for coming here, and then come back anytime you want, man.
Thanks, Nicholas. It was great catching up, and yeah, it's been a great couple decades. Great decade.
Yeah,
Look forward to a
that's
couple
right. That's
more.
a good way to say it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nicholas.